Meet in an NL East division battle, a key one in one of baseball's toughest divisions.
In the East, the Nationals have raced to a 20-12 start. Chipper and the Braves right behind. Who would have thought the Phillies would struggle? And today in Miami, David Wright and the surprising Mets see an old friend, now a Marlin, Jose Reyes. In Miami, Fox Saturday Baseball, the New York Mets and the Miami Marlins. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Tim McCarver. Welcome to Miami. The landscape of the East certainly shifting with the Nationals on top and the Phillies in the bottom. And in the middle, you've got the Marlins and the Mets, who are two of the hotter teams right now in the National League.
Well, I should say so, and it's interesting to note that both teams have done it so differently. The Mets have done it with 2-out hits. They're second in the majors in that department. And the Marlins have done it with terrific starting pitching.
You want different? How about the different styles between these two pitchers? They're the staff aces right now. Ricky Nolasco, R.A. Dickey, both leading their teams with 4 wins.
How are they different? Dickey throws a knuckleball. Ricky Nolasco relies on perfect pinpoint control.
These two teams had a nail-biter last night. It was a walk-off win for the Marlins. Today in Miami, they meet Miami, the Marlins, New York, the Mets. Close to a full house expected for this one. Time now for the starting lineup for the Mets, brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Mas. Andres Torres is back in the lineup. He adds some speed. Kirk Neuenhuis left. David Wright having a terrific season. Lucas Duda hits cleanup. Daniel Murphy, always a great bat. He's at second. Ike Davis has homered in 2 straight. Ronnie Cedeno, the shortstop. Mike Nikias has the chore of catching the knuckleballer, R.A. Dickey. And on the mound for the Marlins, Ricky Nolasco, the 29-year-old out of Rialto, California. Right now, a perfect 4-0 with a 2.72 ERA. Tim, what's the scouting report?
That's a perfect use of the word chore for Mike Niese, but it's not a chore when you catch Ricky Nolasco, the winningest Marlin. Well, he could be after today's game. He has 68 wins. That ties him with Dontrell Willis all time to lead the Marlins. One of the best, least known. I love that line. One of the best, least known. I mean, this guy can pitch, and the ballpark should help him a great deal. Tough to hit home runs in this park.
It is a big park indeed. Defensively for the Miami Marlins, Logan Morrison out in left field, Emilio Bonifacio in center, Giancarlo Stanton in right. Hanley Ramirez has been terrific at third base. Jose Reyes at short, Omar Infante at second, Gabby Sanchez at first, Brett Hayes behind the plate, and of course it's brought to you by Scott's. Ozzie Guillen in his first year as a skipper of the Marlins, of course 8 years in Chicago, a world championship in 2005. Across the diamond, Terry Collins is in his second season, but he's in his 8th year in the big leagues, and Collins has done a very nice job. The Mets come in at 4 games over 500. Opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds.
Terry Collins should have a / teacher by his name. He's more of a teacher than Ozzie Guillen with a more mature lineup. The Mets with a lot of guys in that 1.5 to 2.5 year,
which makes their start all the more remarkable.
Right, it does.
At 18 and 14. So Nolasco to face Andres Torres. The Mets acquiring Torres for some speed at the top of the lineup after they lost Reyes to the Marlins. Torres with a calf injury finally has rejoined the ball club. He's behind the count 0-1. Nolasco, a fastball, a couple different curveballs, and he will throw the change, especially to lefties.
He uses that split as a change. That's what Tommy Hutton, your partner, told me on Thursday. By the way, you and Hut had one of the great lines about this matchup.
Yes, we've been billing it all week as the Ricky Dickey matchup with
I love that.
R.A. Dickey and Ricky Nolasco. And they're both with 4 wins leading their respective staffs, and that's a bit of a story. Josh Johnson, supposed to be the ace of the Marlins, he has struggled. Johan Santana has pitched well, but the Mets haven't scored him any runs this year. The 3-1. Now Nolasco has faced Torres and the Mets up in New York. The Mets swept the Marlins. The Marlins bullpen blew 2 leads in New York. And that's kind of been a theme for both teams. The Marlins bullpen has blown leads throughout this season, but Ozzie Guillen's team has overcome that. They've won 9 of their last 10, whereas the Mets have been the comeback kids.
They have 11 comeback wins. That leads the major leagues, by the way. And what a crack scouting report that was. I told you he had pinpoint control.
Here's Kirk Nieuwenhuis. And Nieuwenhuis in last night's comeback. Now, the Mets did come back last night. They had a 5-3 lead going to the bottom of the 8th, but it was the Mets bullpen that couldn't hold that lead. And Nieuwenhuis had a big pinch hit double to drive in a run. Torres at first base. A good base stealer, though he, with the calf injury, has yet to really get on track this season. The Mets last year, very different makeup in their lineup in that they had speed, and Terry Collins was able to create runs with that speed.
Of course, he had Jose Reyes as part of that lineup too.
That's what he told us for the ball game.
Right. That's that changeup that Nolasco uses almost as a splitter. But once again, falling behind in the count.
Since 2008, to your point of being one of the least known best pitchers in the National League, look at Nolasco at 56 wins. And he's always been a winner. The Marlins, when they won the World Championship in 2003, kept that ball club together in 04 and 05, and then in 06 disassembled it. The pieces they got back were young pieces. Josh Johnson was a rookie on that ball club. Nolasco was one of 3 pitchers the Marlins got from the Cubs for Juan Pierre. This is something the Mets do very well, Tim. They are a patient team, high on base percentage, second in the National League.
Drive up the pitch count, but we've said it more than once. If you get in the middle innings, instead of is his pitch count okay, the question should be, is he winning?
He's not throwing strikes right now.
Only 11 walks in 40 innings this year, and here comes Randy St. Clair, the fine pitching coach of the Marlins.
Despite all the wins for Nolasco, his kryptonite is coming to the plate, and that is David Wright. David Wright in his career has owned Ricky Nolasco. Look at the numbers: 4 homers, a .386 average, and they have met a lot. And so here is Wright now in a big spot early in this ball game, with Torres at second and Nieuwenhuis at first base.
There are a lot of things that go along with the wildness. A pitcher thinks that he's all of a sudden got to throw the ball down the heart of the plate, use more the middle of the plate, and this is a bad guy to do that on.
Wright had 3 hits last night, including a double. And Nolasco isn't even close right now. Those are the career numbers, and a nice sample size, 57 at bats. We got good speed out there with Torres and Nieuwenhuis. And Wright bangs one into left field. Torres around third. He's going to score. And once again, David Wright hurts Ricky Nolasco.
Only 2 strikes to the first 2 hitters. He misses with David Wright. And what does he do on the 1-0 pitch? That part of the plate, right down the pipe. And right now, you don't throw David Wright right down the pipe when he's looking for the pitch you're throwing.
Wright leading the National League in hitting, and he adds one here. It's a 1-0 Met lead. Now Lucas Duda, the big left-handed bat in the cleanup spot. The Mets hot coming into last night, lost in the bottom of the 9th, but they had won 5 in a row. Nieuwenhuis and Wright, big parts of a sweep in Philadelphia.
First sweep since 2006 over the Phillies in their ballpark.
The 1-0. On the ground, Infante, Reyes. Nolasco gets a double play. Nieuwenhuis at third base. Umpires: Tony Randazzo behind home plate, Todd Tichenor at first, Larry Vanover at second, and Brian Gorman out at third base. Well, a wild start for Nolasco, and another solid bat for the Mets, Daniel Murphy.
Funny how one pitch can make things right. You get the double play ball, and that erases momentarily some of the wildness you had early.
Murphy last Saturday on Fox had a 4-hit game in a win over Arizona. He has always been able to hit. A native of Jacksonville, Florida. And Nolasco misses. It's 2-0.
Daniel Murphy learning the position at second base, but he'll always be a hitter that plays a position, not a defensive player that hits. There's a big difference in the two. I think Ricky Nolasco is intentionally doing this. I'd much rather, even though early in the game you don't want to pitch around hitters because of a chance of a big inning, but I don't think Nolasco really wants to give in to Daniel Murphy. Ike Davis has really had problems struggling at the plate. Pitch to him instead.
And Nolasco's third walk of this first inning. The Mets have cashed in with 1 run. Ricky Nolasco is known as a strike thrower, so those numbers have to be alarming to Ozzie Guillen and the pitching coach for Miami, Randy St. Clair.
And also the guys who draw up scouting reports.
Well, here is Davis, and he has been struggling, but his last 2 games, he has shown signs of life. He had a 3-run homer in the win on Thursday in Philadelphia and a solo homer last night. And this is last night against Mark Burley. Solo shot. It was 3-0 at that point. A 3-1 Marlin lead after the Davis home run. The Mets would come back to lead the game 5-3. And he goes after an 89-mile-an-hour fastball. It's 1-1.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that Ike Davis is in a free fall offensively, batting only 183. But when the count's 1-0, you try to make a pitcher get into that little imaginary box where you hit out of. It's much smaller than it is when there are 2 strikes like there are now.
Breaking ball for a strike. You saw that Nolasco is a better pitcher on the road in his history. And if you ask him why, he'll look at you and shrug his shoulders. But he's always been a winner. 68 wins, 51 losses in his career. Now he's 1-2. He's going to the changeup. It seems like he is searching for a pitch that he can throw for a strike.
That's the first time he's been ahead of any hitter in this inning.
Daniel Murphy at first base. David Wright's at third. Go to first. Murphy and Tom Goodwin, the first base coach of the Mets.
That's a play that used to never work, but now works occasionally. It's really a good time to do something like that, thinking that Murphy perhaps would break a little earlier than normally.
Two to Davis. Murphy is running, and Davis fouls it back to the screen. Terry Collins told us before the ball game he would like to put his club in motion a little more. With the addition of Andres Torres at the top of the lineup, he feels he can start to do that. But the Mets are a ball club that do the little things well, and that's one of the reasons they sit at 18 and 14 right now. Neuenhuis across the diamond from Murphy. And the 2-2 got him. The Mets get 3 walks and a base hit and score once. Jose Reyes coming up. Marlins Park. The Mets are on the board first. Live Moss. Former Met Jose Reyes at short. Omar Infante's had an outstanding year at second. Hanley Ramirez has made the adjustment to third. Logan Morrison in the cleanup spot. Giancarlo Stanton in right field. Gabby Sanchez at first. Emilio Bonifacio in center. Brett Hayes in the 8th spot. Ricky Nolasco will hit 9th. Dickey.
One of the more interesting people in the major leagues. Very intelligent. R.A. Dickey. It sounds like a regal name, and from his personality, he's quite a regal fellow. He's won 4 of his 5 and 6 starts at hard knuckleball. And there it was. Scouting report, the catcher's a key. You may remember Josh Tolley out with a concussion. That happened when Ty Wigginton ran into him the other night in Philadelphia. One of the harder knuckleballs, even gets up to 80 miles an hour. And he'll be 38 years old.
Wright, a backhand. And a throw across to get Reyes.
Good play.
Scotts brings you the Mets defensively. Kirk Neuenhuis, Andres Torres, Lucas Duda in the outfield. Wright has been outstanding defensively this year. Ronnie Cedeno, Daniel Murphy, and Ike Davis. And Mike Nikias is the guy that has to catch R.A. Dickey, not Josh Tolley.
Most unorthodox fashion, too, with one of the strangest gloves available on the market. R.A. Dickey gave every catcher, Rob Johnson, Mike Nikias, and Josh Tolley, one of those mitts to break in the way they wanted to see fit, or that they saw fit. And so here Nikias is catching the knuckleballer. That's a softball mitt, isn't it?
He described it as a hybrid between a softball catcher's glove, a first baseman's glove, and it was designed by a former knuckleballer, Steve Sparks,
who threw a hard knuckleball also. Aren't many around. And there are many, many more.
Infante out to center field, and Omar Infante is out number 2.
I was going to say, Rich, there are many more right-handed knuckleballers than left-handed. And I really don't understand that. I asked pitching coach Dan Warthen of the Mets why Wilbur Wood's the only one that really comes to mind when you think about left-handed knuckleballers. He said, I have no idea. But it is an odd thing. Of all the knuckleballers, and they've only been about 70 in the history of the game, but most have been right-handed.
Hanley Ramirez now for the Marlins. 6 homers, 21 driven in. 0 for 4 last night with a couple of strikeouts. And Dickey misses up with that knuckleball. Much was made about the move to third base for Hanley Ramirez, with Jose Reyes coming from the Mets, signing with the Marlins. Hanley sprays a ground ball. Daniel Murphy 4 steps on the outfield grass. And R.A. Dickey makes quick work of the Marlins in the first. Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. And by Battleship, the battle for Earth begins at sea, in theaters on Friday.
That's as close to a battleship as we could get, right?
That's it. In Miami, Marlins Park sits 9 blocks from downtown in Little Havana on Calle Ocho. Ricky Nolasco, who struggled mightily in the first inning, gets Ronnie Cedeno, Mike Niese, and R.A. Dickey in the seconds.
I tell you, this stadium is as much to behold as this ball club is in this town. Only 6 weeks old. It is, I mean, the first thing that hits you, I think, when you walk in is the color scheme. And the colors are 4: blue, yellow, green, what am I missing? And red. And red.
And you've got the home run sculpture as Cedeno strikes out. The home run sculpture in center field by noted artist Red Grooms.
I mean, this guy gets around. Not only does he paint scenes of New York City, a lot of New Yorkers are certainly familiar with him. In fact, he's had shows at the Whitney Museum in New York and other places. He's so whimsical. But I mean, he goes to the left coast too. He's done some stuff in Napa Valley, in California, in San Francisco. He's a man of many states. Outstanding.
Jeffrey Loria, the owner of the Marlins, is a noted international art dealer, and thus the art influence in this ballpark. Nikias pops it up. Gabby Sanchez has it, and Nolasco is settled in. He has a couple outs here in the second inning. Time now for the Ford keys to the game.
For the New York Mets, 2-out hits equals success. It's certainly been the case this year. They are second in the majors with 2-out RBI hits. And for the Marlins, they need to continue that superb starting pitching. And we'll see through the course, particularly the early part of the game, Rich, just how important that double play ball was to Lucas Duda.
Nolasco would then walk Daniel Murphy, but he got Ike Davis on a curveball. And when Nolasco struggles with control, it's usually the curveball that he can get over for strikes that gets him back in a groove. 1-1 to Dickey. It's fouled at the plate. Another thing that separates this ballpark from a lot of the retractable roof ballparks is that you have a view of the downtown skyline through left field. Those windows retract along with the roof. And in most retractable roof stadiums or ballparks,
like Seattle,
it's hard to see out. Seattle's view is blocked by a football stadium. Houston's view is blocked by Union Station in left field. Here's the 1-2. Dickey, a liner into right field, and that's a base hit. R.A. Dickey does all the little things. He is a great fielder. He helps himself. He can bunt, and if you groove one, he'll put a good swing on it.
Like he did against Ricky Nolasco. That looked like a cut fastball on the outside part. Good job.
Second hit for the Mets. And here comes Andres Torres.
Andres using a 33.5-ounce bat when he was playing with the San Francisco Giants back in 2010. Playing center field and very well after a career minor league season, a minor league career for the most part. He was using a 36-ounce bat. 2.5 ounces is a huge differential for a hitter. But what a lighter bat does, particularly when you're older, your hands are not as quick and you can wait on the ball a lot longer, and waiting and having quick hands, two of the keys to good hitting.
Torres to right. Stanton is there. And Nolasco in the second. There is the home run sculpture in motion. 1-0 Mets. By Bud Light Lime. Summer is calling. Indoors in Miami, the Mets have a 1-0 lead over the Marlins. Bottom of the second, Dickey worked quickly through the first. A great look from Marlins Park. It is the smallest ballpark in all of baseball. 36,000 seats, 1,000 standing room. Smaller than Fenway, smaller than PNC in Pittsburgh.
But it looks bigger. It looks much bigger than Fenway, Wrigley Field.
Logan Morrison. And he takes a knuckleball outside.
The sight lines in this ballpark, something about which Jeffrey Luria was glowing last night.
Morrison waits on the knuckler and dribbles it into right field for a base hit.
That's probably the best way to hit a knuckleball, to wait on the knuckler.
That's easier said than done.
I know it is, because you're not used to allowing a ball and a pitch to develop before you hit it. Like a curveball or a slider or a fastball, certainly the ball coming in at 95 miles an hour. But with the knuckleball, you catch it the same way you hit it. You wait until the last moment. Mike Niese is finding that out today.
Giancarlo Stanton swings and misses. Now, everyone in baseball knows him as Mike Stanton. That's what he went by his first 2 years in the big leagues. But his real first name is Giancarlo. His parents, he grew up in Southern California. They liked Italian first names, so they named him Giancarlo Michael Cruz Stanton. And he went by Giancarlo until the 5th grade. And he got tired of his classmates and his teachers mispronouncing his first name, so he said, just call me Mike. Breaks his bat and dumps it over the shortstop Cedeno's head. That is a strong man that can find a hit out of a bat that lands on the screen.
I mean, he hit that ball down around the handle, below the trademark, and it cracked. And fortunately for the fans, near the third base dugout, the bat landed against the screen. That screen preventing damage, but you're right, it takes an awful strong guy to hit a ball like that after breaking a bat.
Not many bats break on a knuckleball. You don't see that often either.
No, that's true. When they do, they break on the end when you hit it on the end.
Gabby Sanchez now. The Marlins are trying to get Sanchez back going. He's hitting just 190. And this, Tim, has been an issue for Miami, and that's hitting with runners in scoring position. The Marlins came off their best road trip ever. They won 8 of 9 ball games. And Ozzie Guillen watched his team hit 161 with runners in scoring position.
By far, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, the worst in baseball.
In the center field, that's a base hit. Morrison around third. Up with it is Torres, and Morrison will score. Stanton is caught between second and third. Wright, the relay. There's no one at third. Dickey gets there in time, dives, and makes the tag.
That's what Terry Collins was saying. That R.A. Dickey helps himself. That's bad base running by Mike Stanton. If there were 1 out, it would be more understandable. With nobody out, you don't take a chance like this. Good play by Andres Torres. He knew he didn't have a chance at home plate to get the runner. That's why Ike Davis cut the ball off. And now nobody's at third until Dickey gets there. Fine heads-up play by Dickey, who was backing up home. That's his first responsibility.
Yeah, you saw that as that play developed. Dickey wasn't even in the picture.
No.
8-3-5-6-1.
Good play by Dickey, bad play by Stanton.
Here is Bonifacio, and he takes a knuckler for a strike. Watch Dickey on this play.
Watch this route. First he ducks, and now he's kind of caught between home and third. You don't know where the throw's going to be. Now you see the throw cut off by Ike Davis. That's when he drifted toward third base to make the play.
And he's out in front of Emilio Bonifacio, 0-2. Bonifacio last night had a big base hit. He tied the ball game in the bottom of the 9th off of Frank Francisco. Francisco blew the save. Bonifacio pokes it foul. Last year, a breakout year for Bonifacio, one of the fastest men in baseball. And he had that tag as an Arizona Diamondback and as a Washington National. But last year, he finally broke through. He was able to get on base, make more consistent contact, and play almost every day.
That gives you an idea of how tough it is to catch a knuckleball. Nikias didn't have a clue where that ball was. He thought maybe it got by him. Might have been in his shirt or in his chest protector. What an odd place, the pocket.
The 1-2. Popped up, Wright makes the catch. Let's go to Greg Amsinger in the MLB Network studios. A DirecTV game break.
Rich, thank you. Chris Volstead on the mound in Milwaukee. He drills Ryan Braun. Braun goes to first. Now watch this. The old fake the third move works. Braun caught in a rundown. Nyjer Morgan's at third base. He's going to come home. And that is how the Brewers tie it. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Rich, Tim, back to you.
All right, thank you, Greg. A former Marlin, Chris Volstead, and Brett Hayes stands in. Chris Volstead.
This is the pitch we were talking about. Nikias had no idea the ball was in his mitt. That mitt is so big you can't feel the ball a lot of times. That ball's in the pocket where it's supposed to be. But Nikias didn't know that, and now he catches that ball in the heel of the glove.
And he hasn't used this glove since spring training.
Right. It is a tough job for Mike Nikias behind the plate. You have no idea where that ball's going.
Brett Hayes, left field. Nieuwenhuis at the track makes the catch. The Marlins have tied it. Marlins and Mets back to Miami after a word from your local Fox station. Presented by Chevrolet. In Miami, the Marlins and the Mets 1-1 in the top of the third. Rich Waltz along with Tim McCarver. The Mets and Marlins met in New York, and the Mets swept the Marlins. Kirk Neuenhuis was a big part of that sweep. He had a game-winning hit. And Neuenhuis steps in. David Wright, Lucas Duda against Ricky Nolasco in the third. The Mets had Nolasco on the ropes in the first inning. He walked 3, including Neuenhuis,
who plays the game with a football mentality.
That's because he was a terrific high school running back growing up in the Denver area. He was offered scholarships to Colorado, Colorado State, Air Force Academy, but he wanted to play baseball, and he ended up at a small college in Southern California, Azusa Pacific, which ironically is best known for a great NFL running back, Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare. Here's the 1-2.
Christian, the majority of his career with Kansas City, right?
You got it. Bonifacio makes the catch. Next week, Tim McCarver, America's pastime goes prime time. It's baseball night in America. 8 straight weeks of baseball's best in prime time. It starts with interleague matchups, regional rivals, the Orioles and the Nationals, Red Sox, Phillies, White Sox, Cubs, Rangers, Astros, or Diamondbacks, Royals. Baseball night in America, presented by Chevrolet, next Saturday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. David Wright. Terry Collins could not be more effusive in praise for the job that David Wright has done on the field and off the field this year. Wright, deep to right field. Stanton back. It's gone. And David Wright has hit his 5th career homer against Ricky Nolasco. He's driven in both runs for the Mets. The leading hitter in the National League continues an incredible start in 2012.
We're going to try to flash up those numbers again that David Wright has against Ricky Nolasco. Power the other way, and Wright playing with a ton of confidence right now. I mean, a ton of confidence. Talent, of course, but that talent was there last year and the year before when he had off years. Boy, I mean, he is off to a torrid start this year.
You said that Terry Collins has to be more of a teacher than a manager with a young team. It helps when you have a guy like Wright who leads by example on the field.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's always going to be there off the field. He's one of the real stand-up guys in the game. Playing in a tough city to play where you have to explain a lot of things after a game. But David Wright has his act together on the field this year. He's always had it off the field.
And I'm sure he's looking forward to more matchups against Ricky Nolasco.
Oh, man.
Nolasco gets a strikeout of Duda. The Mets have a 2-1 lead thanks to that man, David Wright. So there are 2 outs, and here is Daniel Murphy. I mean, Wright, first in the majors and on base percentage, leads the National League in hitting, 4 homers. He's driven in 20. Ramirez cuts in front of Reyes, and Gabby Sanchez with a pick.
Very good play by Sanchez.
Ricky Nolasco can't keep David Wright in the ballpark, and the Mets lead at 2-1. in Miami in the bottom of the third. R.A. Dickey to Ricky Nolasco, figures why not just throw him a garden variety fastball to start the at-bat. And a knuckleball for strike 2. Nolasco has 3 hits this year. Top of the order, Jose Reyes and Omar Infante to follow in the bottom of the third. Breaking ball. Ike Davis picks it up. We had a chance to visit with Marlins skipper Ozzie Guillen, and we asked him about the recent success for a ball club that's won 9 of their last 10.
Well, I think it's pitching. I think pitching and timing hitting. That's what we're doing right now. I think in the past we not was hitting that well, but right now we do.
Well, Ozzie, you finally get a timely hit, but the base running didn't go along with the hit, right?
Well, we got to learn everything. We got to be patient with the kids. I think the way we're teaching how hitting, how play defense, we got to teach those guys, remind them, thinking on the base pads, and last couple of days not be too pretty.
You finally got a hit with a runner in scoring position from Gabby Sanchez, though. That's a nice hurdle to get over.
Well, Gabby's been very struggled last couple of weeks, and I think he tried to find out a way to get up. That's a big base hit for him. Hopefully he's carry on for the next at-bats.
Ozzie, thanks for the visit.
All right, guys, no respect here in this clubhouse. Look at this. They don't respect the manager.
Best way to get a manager is with
who's the culprit?
Sunflower projectiles.
It's Mark
Burley again. They were together in Chicago, and Ozzie Guillen, one of the big reasons that Burley signed with the Marlins.
And Burley's been terrific with his staff as well. He has pitched better than his record. He was in line for a win last night.
Yeah, he's a pro's pro, isn't he?
He is. Jose Reyes now with Omar Infante coming up. For Reyes, it has not been a great start offensively. His batting average has been in the low 200s. His on-base percentage in the low 300s. And, of course, last year's batting champ, when he hit .337, and he was on base at a .384 clip, both of those career highs. And that turned into a 6-year, $106 million contract. His ground ball is into right field.
One of the keys against R.A. Dickey was whether we, if you're the Marlins or Marlins fans, whether we can get Reyes on base to nullify the knuckleball. If he throws the knuckleball and Reyes chooses to run, and remember he played behind Dickey for several years, so it'll be interesting right here. Dickey with an excellent move to first base. So we'll see what Reyes elects to do.
Certainly knuckleballers are scarce, but all of them seem to have good moves, both to first
they have to.
And quick moves to the plate.
That's right. Phil Niekro had one. Joe Niekro, his brother, had one. Tim Wakefield had a good move to first base. But you're forced to do that. If you don't have quick feet to go to first base, you can't be slow to the plate and throw a knuckleball.
And Ike Davis is hoping one of those knuckleballs doesn't come his direction. That's the other trick. Once you grip the knuckler, if you do go to first, you've got to ungrip it. If that's a word.
It is now.
Omar Infante has always hit R.A. Dickey well. And he delivers a base hit to left field. 13 of 27 in his career against Dickey.
That looked like a hanging something. Couldn't tell whether it was a knuckleball. Yeah, it was the dancer. Right on the button by Infante.
Short, compact swing. Infante has been a pleasant surprise for the Marlins this year. He's been in the top 5 in slugging percentage almost from day one.
We've seen Niese not know that the ball was in the pocket. We saw the ball that hit in the heel of the glove. And that's probably the biggest reason that a knuckleball is so hard to handle. A catcher can't feel the ball. You can't throw it like you normally would. But with one out, and if Reyes gets a jump at second base, he's gone.
And you have good speed trailing him,
right,
with Infante, who's not being held at first. see Dickey change grips a couple times from the stretch, and Daniel Murphy is in for a chat.
Daniel saying, all right, what'd you just do? Let me in on it too.
Well, it's not like tipping a pitch to a hitter with a knuckleballer on the mound is any advantage, because Hanley Ramirez is expecting a knuckleball. He's pretty much going to get a knuckleball. The question is, can he hit the knuckleball? To right field. Duda, everybody tags. Reyes on his way to third. Infante holds at first. And there are 2 outs, and here comes Logan Morrison. Logan Morrison is maybe the best pure hitter that the Marlins have, and it's by design. He grew up in the Kansas City area. His father played college football at Kansas, and when Logan at 10 declared he wanted to play baseball, his dad knew nothing about the game. So he went to the library to find a book about baseball, and he found The Art of Hitting 300 by Charlie Lau. And that's why Logan Morrison's favorite player growing up was George Brett. And he's up now with runners at the corners.
His favorite player probably would have been Albert Pujols, being in the same state, growing up in Kansas City. But he went to the same community college as Albert Pujols did in Kansas City.
Yes, he did. And he was one of the last draft and follow guys. Teams back then could draft a guy that they weren't sure was going to sign. Morrison was signed in the 20s, or was drafted in the 22nd round. They followed him half a season, did the Marlins, and then convinced him to sign. That rule no longer exists in the Major League draft. 1-1 pitch. And it's in. And his tale, certainly a heartfelt one. He finally got to the big leagues. His father, who was in the Coast Guard, had cancer, had lung cancer, non-smoking lung cancer. And his father passed away, but did get a chance to see Morrison play in the big leagues. Up the middle, tricky play, and Murphy makes it.
Well, a good play by a guy adapting very well to a new position.
Dickey gets out of the inning. Tim, have you been to the Clevelander yet?
Not
out in
yet,
left field.
baby.
Well,
I will be.
You might want to think about it. 2-1 Mets. The makers of One A Day Men's, the official multivitamin of Major League Baseball. Marlins Park with the roof closed in Miami and a big crowd on hand. The Mets have a 2-1 lead. David Wright with a home run and an RBI single has driven in both runs. Ike Davis climbing in to face Ricky Nolasco. And we are joined now by Mets starter Jonathan Niese,
who looks a lot like Ike Davis. Anybody ever told you that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think it's the nose. I think that's what gives us a similarity.
Two good-looking guys. That's right. Yeah.
And you guys are off to a terrific start. The Mets, I think, have surprised a lot of people at 18-14. Have you surprised yourself? That's the obligatory shower of seeds.
That's Justin Turner at his finest.
Have you guys surprised yourself with this start?
I don't think so. I think all of us knew going in that we had a lot of talent, and we had good pitching, and our hitting has just been phenomenal.
Getting key hits in the right situations, huh, John?
Yeah, I think we've been doing really good at getting 2-out hits and putting runs on the board with 2 outs, and especially late in the games. And as pitchers, that's all we can ask for is to know we can go out there and just be comfortable and know that our offense is going to give us runs.
John, you're 25. When you got to the big league with the Mets, it was a veteran team. Now there's a lot of 24, 25, second, third-year guys along with you. What has that transition been like?
It's been good. I think a lot of the guys that I came up with, were veteran guys, and they knew how to play the game the right way, and they kind of taught that to us. And now, now that we got the young talent on our team now, we're using that, their knowledge right now, and we're playing well.
Ari Dickey couldn't convince you to climb Kilimanjaro with him?
I actually wanted to. I asked him if I could, but it was kind of a late notice, so it would have been nice, though.
What's it like watching him pitch, a conventional pitcher like yourself, watching a knuckleballer work every 5 days?
It's incredible. He has such a great craft, and just to throw the knuckleball is hard enough, and for him to be able to control it like he does, it's amazing to watch.
And he's also, John, got a great demeanor on the mound, and I'm sure that would follow him to the clubhouse as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He knows how to conduct himself on the mound the right way, and us young pitchers watching that, it's good to follow.
Ronnie Cedeno at the plate, Ricky Nolasco working in the fourth. Your manager talked an awful lot about the leadership that David Wright has shown, and it's not a rah-rah leadership. It's by example on the field, and today already with a home run and an RBI single is a great example.
Right. He plays the game, the right way every day, day in and day out. Even when he doesn't feel his best, he grinds it out and somehow finds a way to get 2 or 3 hits. And just like today, in key situations, he can put runs on the board.
0-2 to Cedeno.
John, between innings, you had a great line about that nightclub out in left field. You said there was a nightclub with a baseball park built around it.
Yeah, this place is incredible.
Isn't it something?
It has Miami written all over it.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun for fans to come out here and have a good time at the baseball park.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. It is, of course, the Clevelander is a South Beach staple. It's a long-time hot spot on South Beach, and they brought South Beach into the ballpark. And you see the Marlins bullpen is right next to the Clevelander. Off the end of the bat, just out of the reach of Infante. And Cedeno has a base hit. Now, that may change after a year because the Marlins bullpen, the phone, they couldn't hear it. With all the stuff going on in the Clevelander, they had to put a red light on the phone.
Yeah, there's a lot of distractions out there, I can tell you that.
Now be honest. Pitchers shag during batting practice. most visiting pitchers spend most of their time in front of the Clevelander. Where were you?
As a single man, you can answer that, John.
No, I'm engaged, so I can't.
Oh, you're engaged.
Yeah. But usually during BP, I roam around the field all the time. So.
Well, you have to. You got to know the field, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, what do you think of this ballpark? This is the Mets' first visit into Major League Baseball's newest park.
It's great. I mean, it's a great ballpark. Obviously, the fans come out. I don't know what that thing is in center field, but it's colorful and nice.
You had never heard of Red Grooms, the famous artist, then?
No, obviously not.
Liner to right. Stanton picks it up. Mike Nickius follows with a base hit.
Just like Justin, Murph's having fun too over here, throwing seeds at me. Isn't that fun?
That's all right. Jonathan, this is a Mets ball club that has done it with 2-out hitting. Starters have pitched well enough. Bullpen has pitched well enough. You've swept Atlanta, swept Miami, and you swept the Phillies on the road. You guys must have a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, we just like to go out and have fun. I think, and Terry stresses to play the game the right way, play aggressive, and, obviously our hitting has been phenomenal. So it's been a lot of fun.
It's funny, John, you never hear that term, going out and having fun, when you're losing, do you?
Right. And last year, we lost more than we won, and it wasn't fun. Losing is never fun, and winning is a lot of fun, and hopefully we can continue to do that this year.
John, thanks for the visit, and I will note that's the first in-game interview fist bump that we've had this year.
And just trying to be a good teammate.
Thanks, John.
All right, thanks, guys.
Jonathan Niese. Andres Torres with a chance to do some damage here, and Nolasco misses inside. Here it is. This is a first this year on Fox Saturday Baseball.
Fist bump.
And he didn't stop talking.
Interfere with the conversation for most people, but not John.
Here's the 1-0. Nolasco gets a strike.
Here's that 2-out runners in scoring position situation where the Mets have thrived since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, the Mets not only tied for the National League lead in comebacks. That's a catcher's interference. Torres knocked the glove off of Brett Hayes, and though the Marlins, Logan Morrison caught the ball, he's on his way to the dugout. It's going to send both runners back to their bases and Torres down to first base.
And an error on the catcher. That is, I know it may seem at first like that's a careless play on the part. You could see that right there. You could see it and hear it. That ball got all of the mitt. But it's a play where the catchers, because of Nolasco's curveball, you try to stay as close to the plate as possible. And sometimes you wander without even knowing it into that area where a hitter with a late swing like Torres just had ends up nipping the glove. He more than nipped it on that play. So the runners return to second and third respectively.
It knocked the glove clean off.
No at bat for Torres, and an error on the catcher Hayes.
And now Ricky Nolasco has to face Kirk Neuenhuis, who has walked and flied to center. And Neuenhuis has provided a lot of the 2-out magic for the Mets so far this season.
That's the curveball, and that's the pitch that catchers try to get as close to home as they can to get the ball before it breaks, so it shows the appearance of a strike. Another curve. So 2 straight curveballs. This is what we were talking about. At first curveball, you try to get as close to the plate as possible.
Brett Hayes catching Nolasco today. Neuenhuis with a 1-1. And it's 1-2.
We talked about the Mets and 2-out hits, but we weren't talking about that. Interference by the catcher.
I think if Nolasco could choose, he would rather still have Torres at the plate than have to face Nieuwenhuis.
Yeah, no question.
Nieuwenhuis has that look of a football player. One, two. Into right field. That's a base hit. Cedeno scores. Stop sign is up for Nikias. And the Mets have a 3-1 lead. And that is why Nolasco would rather face Torres than Nieuwenhuis.
Too many breaking balls there. Curveball, changeup to get to 1 and 2. And now the changeup, which is the split finger. Nieuwenhuis waits and rips. And with 2 out, third base coach Tim Teufel respecting the arm of Giancarlo Stanton in right field.
And this couldn't come at a worse time for Ricky Nolasco, because David Wright is the guy, and there's no place to put him. The bases are loaded. Wright has homered and driven in a run with a single and absolutely owns Nolasco. Tonight, NASCAR on Fox heads to Darlington, goes under the lights to take on the track too tough to tame. Points leader Greg Biffle leads the world's best drivers in a chase for the checkered flag. Fox Sports proud to bring you exclusive coverage of Sprint Cup Series racing presented by GoDaddy.com. Live from the Darlington Raceway tonight, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. 4 career Grand Slams for Wright. And again, as we pointed out, he has owned Nolasco in his career. So a big moment in this ballgame, a chance to break it open for the Mets.
That goes into everybody's thinking. Tim Teufel, obviously knowing the numbers Wright has against Nolasco, willing to take his chance with Wright hitting with the bases loaded instead of taking a chance that Stanton would make a good throw home.
Wright with a ground ball. Reyes gets the out. Nolasco limits it to just 1. But the Mets have stretched their lead in Miami. New York up 3-1. The fish tanks, not directly behind home plate, but up the first and third base sides. It is tilted and tinted, so infielders and outfielders do not get a reflection. And yet the fish, Tim, still have a nice view of the game.
Yes.
Giancarlo Stanton, Gabby Sanchez, Emilio Bonifacio against R.A. Dickey.
That's just what owner Jeffrey Loria had in mind when he sat in his hotel room in London about 6 years ago and sketched how he thought, there's Jeffrey to the right, sketched how he thought this ballpark should look like. And then he got in touch with the regular architect, and he has an interest and always has had in architecture. So he certainly, this is his brainchild, and he's very proud of it.
Let's check in with Greg Amsinger, the MLB Network studios. We'll get to Greg in a moment. Gabby Sanchez stepping in. Dickey has an out here in the fourth, with Emilio Bonifacio right behind him. Sanchez with an RBI single back in the second. Marlins got their only run in the second. The Mets single runs in the first, the third, and the fourth.
Another thing, Rich, about this park, there is nothing cookie cutterish about this park at all.
Oh. No, this is not a throwback brick and steel ballpark.
Veterans Stadium opening in 1971. That's prior to Citizens Bank Park. Three Rivers in Pittsburgh, the same model, just in a different town.
I think it's safe to say that when you see a game on television, right away you know you're watching a game from Miami.
Yeah, I think that's very important.
That one is smoked. Gabby Sanchez has his second hit. Nieuwenhuis in the corner. A one-out double for Gabby Sanchez.
Gabby Sanchez went to school about 10 miles from here at the University of Miami. That knuckleball just hangs around home plate. And Sanchez, 2 straight hits against a tough knuckleballer.
Emilio Bonifacio now, he popped out back in the second. The series started last night. It's a 3-game weekend series. The Marlins were swept by the Mets in New York, and the Mets came from behind. Took a 5-3 lead late, but Bonifacio had a big hit to tie it in the ninth, and Greg Dobbs with a pinch hit single ended it. And Miami got a bit of revenge after being swept earlier in the year. Dickey is quickly out in front 0-2.
I think you have to know the park, and the Mets are trying to learn this ballpark quickly. Only their second game here. But the one thing you can do, you could play the off-fielder, which is Nieuwenhuis in this situation, and play him very shallow for a guy like Bonifacio. Ball does not carry well here, and Bonifacio is not a strong hitter. He's a fast runner, but not a strong hitter. So you can cheat on him in left field.
In fact, Bonifacio has just one extra base hit this year. Dickey's 1-2. Wow. You see Nikias darted and took a shot at it and just got it.
What about that shot of him taking a deep breath? And there are a lot of deep breaths a catcher has to take when he's handling as tough a knuckleball as Dickey. Oh, man.
Ground ball back to Dickey, and he's got Sanchez in a rundown. R.A. Dickey executes it perfectly. Cedeno completes the rundown. And now let's go to Greg Amsinger, the MLB Network studios, for a DirecTV game break.
Rich, thank you. Mark Trumbo gives us a Trumbomb. He's getting the start at first base, making the most of it. This off Matt Harrison, his 5th of the year. It's 2-0. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Rich, Tim, in case you're wondering, Albert Pujols is DHing in this game, 0-2, now hitting 189.
Wow. And the Angels trying to get power from Trumbo and Trout until Albert Pujols finds his swing. yet again, R.A. Dickey helping himself. He's made 2 very nice defensive plays in this ballgame.
Oh, he'll do that. You know, it's interesting. Our friends from StatSync point out 3 franchises among baseball's winningest franchises over the last decade in last place: Boston, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles Angels.
Of the 3, which is the biggest surprise to you?
The Angels. I knew the Phillies would have a tough time scoring runs. I didn't know how the Red Sox would adjust to Bobby Valentine. I thought there may be a carryover from what happened last September when they went 7-20. So that leaves the Angels, and Pujols' start to me is startling. And people talk about the mental part of the game. If he's not going through, you know, I mean, his skills didn't decline that quickly from one year to the other. The first 6 weeks of this year have just been a nightmare for him and the Angels.
And you talk to everybody in the National League that has seen so much of Pujols, managers, opposing pitching coaches, and they will tell you there's no way this is going to continue.
And it continues.
Absolutely.
That's a thing.
That's why it's such a big story.
Well, that's true. I mean, you can see the skills that he that he still possesses. I mean, he's still strong. He hits the ball the other way. But the thing you can't see is from the neck up. You can't see that with any athletes, and that's why there is a real need for sports psychologists in this game and a lot of pro sports. And that's why they have been so productive over the last couple of decades.
Nicky is blocking that one. They count 2-1 to Brett Hayes, who hit a ball to the warning track in his only at bat. R.A. Dickey has escaped a couple of big innings. This is not an easy day for Mike Nickius, who has caught R.A. Dickey in spring training, but not here in the regular season. Josh Tolley on the disabled list. Nickius draws the assignment this Saturday in Miami. And Hayes goes around.
That might be the best dancer that he's thrown all day. I thought dancer was the appropriate term for that knuckleball since a Clevelander. We're staring right at the Clevelander, giving the Clevelander a lot of ink here on this telecast.
Which gives me the sense that you might be headed in that direction after the game. Bonifacio runs, and Hayes drives one to left. Neuenhuis is there, and he makes the catch.
Maybe.
It's Miami. Calle Ocho, Little Havana. The Mets are on top, 3-1. Mike Nikias.
Certainly more understandable for Dickey to be talking with his catcher more than, and with the pitching coach, more than with other conventional catchers.
Lucas Duda takes the strike. And one thing Dickey told us yesterday is that when he has issues, as good a pitching coach as Dan Worthen is, Worthen really doesn't have a whole lot to say about the knuckleball, and that's why on his cell phone he's got all the knucklers in there. That one's into center field. Bonifacio picks it up.
They're on speed dial.
They are.
Tim Wakefield.
He's got Phil Niekro as well. So when Dickey has issues, there's a small cast of characters that throw the knuckleball that he leans on.
He said he tried conventionality long enough with the Texas Rangers. He finally realized through pitching coach, then pitching coach Oral Hershiser, that it's time to make a change.
Yeah, that's incredible that he would make that change and shift into gear and all of a sudden have success. The Mets now with Lucas Duda aboard and Daniel Murphy up. Murphy has walked.
Yeah, he's not bunting. That's a decoy of decoys with first baseman Gabby Sanchez holding the runner on with that hole on the right side. That fake bunt, nobody believed that.
Murphy goes after the 2-0 pitch and fouls it back. Both of these ball clubs have had opportunities for big innings. The Mets squeezed single runs out of the first, the third, and the fourth. The Marlins got a run in the second. Mets have left 6. The Marlins have left 4.
Now the Marlins, talk about situational hitting. Situational base running is just as important. And with Giancarlo Stanton running past second, getting caught in a rundown with nobody out, that's a no-no.
Up the middle, off of Nolasco, Ramirez, bare hands, safe, runner on his way to third, and a heads-up play by Duda. He arrives at third base. Hanley Ramirez trying to make that play, and Duda saw nobody at third. He didn't stop at second, and the Mets are set up at first and third.
Well, I'll tell you, the Mets deserve a lot of credit the way they are playing ball. This ball off the back of Nolasco, fielded by Hanley Ramirez, and Jose Reyes goes to third, but not before Lucas Duda did. Duda saw nobody was covering third. It's a foot race. The throw would be very difficult from Gabby Sanchez to Reyes because he was on the move, and an excellent piece of base running by Lucas Duda. All 254 pounds of it.
That's a big man, and that's a great example of how the Mets have arrived.
That's right.
At 18 and 14.
That's right.
They do the little things right. Now they need to do a big thing right, and that's drive in some runs. And Ike Davis has struck out and popped out. And he has certainly scuffled with runners in scoring position this year. Davis, who missed most of last year with an ankle injury, takes in of the young Mets, the guys that are getting a chance to play at the big leagues. Davis, one of the most highly touted. Those are the numbers with runners in scoring position. He was a first-round pick out of Arizona State in 2008, 18th overall. And of course his father pitched for the New York Yankees.
Ron Davis. Right now he's touted the most and doing the least, and the Mets hope that turns around for him. and for them.
Little tapper. Hayes in front of the plate gets an out. And the Mets end up with runners at second and at third. Time now for the Just for Men Auto Stop foolproof stat. Ricky Nolasco tied with Dontrelle Willis for the most wins in Marlins history. The Marlins can count on Ricky Nolasco. You can count on Just for Men Auto Stop for foolproof results. Nolasco 17 games over 500 in his career. He's got just 51 losses with those 68 wins. Now he's got Cedeno with Niese on deck and runners at second and at third. Middle infield back, corners in. A one hopper. Infante looks to the plate, throws to the plate, and Hayes has the tag and the out.
That's a big league play by Infante. Even with the infield back, there are very few infielders who would take a chance on coming home. Infante sees Duda running, and again, he's a big man. He's not the fastest or fleet of foot, but a very, very heads-up play by Omar Infante. Duda an easy out at home plate.
And so Mike Niese comes to the plate. Niese, an RBI double last night, has singled and popped out in this ball game. At the corners, and a strike from Nolasco. And in your scouting report on Ricky Nolasco, you talk about a guy that's able to manage games, and here's a big spot. It's a real tipping point. If he can get out, he keeps his team in the game. The Mets have had a couple of opportunities now to bust this game wide open.
Yeah, that phrase that has evolved in baseball over the past few years is a pitcher who will give his team a chance to win. And that's what Nolasco does almost every time out there.
Well, Nolasco certainly didn't have his best stuff when the game started. He walked 3 in the first inning. He rarely walks more than 2 in any start he makes. See the pitch count, 25 pitches in that first inning. And a 1-2 count on the Mets catcher, Mike Niese. Breaking ball, did not go.
That was close. I think the Mets got a break right there. I thought Niese went too far. Of course, almost all replays look like the hitter went too far. It's very, very difficult on the first base coach for that right-handed hitter, whether he win or not.
Two coming. It seems like, as well, in the last 5 to 7 years in Major League Baseball, that check swing has been called more often. It's almost giving something back to the pitchers in a game that has given so much of an advantage to the hitters over the last 10, 15 years. Hit him.
If nothing else, that clears the pitcher. So R.A. Dickey, or his replacement, won't be leading off in the top of the 6th inning. This fastball riding in. This is totally unlike a Nolasco start. Wildness, first hit batter. But you remember that check swing that could have been called a strike. Mets got a break there, and temporarily have taken advantage of it.
Mike Dunn is up, a lefty in the Marlins pen. And now here is Dickey, who has a sacrifice bunt and a single. But Nolasco is in full strikeout mode now with 2 outs and the bases loaded. Three walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 runs. That's Nolasco's line so far. And he hits Dickey. It looks like it's in the right hand or the right wrist area.
Certainly common sense will tell you there's no intention of hitting R.A. Dickey. He hits 2 batters in a row. Looked like it hit the left wrist of Dickey. Fortunate for the Mets that it's knows his right hand. Oh boy. It could be a big blow to the Mets. One of their best pitchers hit in his throwing hand.
Randy St. Clair is on his way out to talk to Nolasco, who is all over the place in this ball game.
Yeah, I mean, right from pitch 1.
He hits the number 8 hitter, Mike Niese. He hits the pitcher, R.A. Dickey, with the bases loaded.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys in baseball who can lose it and get wild for one game. But one of the ones that you didn't think that applied to was a guy like Ricky Nolasco.
Major League Baseball would like to wish moms everywhere a very happy Mother's Day. Visit MLBcommunity.org to learn more about MLB's Going to Bat Against Breast Cancer program. Bases filled with Mets. It's 4-1 now. And now Nolasco has to face Andres Torres. The left-hander is ready in the Marlins pen. Torres with a ground ball, and that's into right field. That's a base hit. On his way home, Hayes with a sweet tag, and in there is Niese. Andres Torres has the big hit, and the Mets have cracked it open. 6-1.
Again, a 2-out hit by pitch, and then a 2-out hit. Got to be one of the most disappointing starts for Ricky Nolasco in his career.
Andres Torres with a 2-run single has knocked Ricky Nolasco out of this ball game in Miami. Go. He is out. Mike Dunn is in. And the Mets with runners first and second. With Kirk Neuenhuis up. Mike Dunn, the lefty that takes over. Dunn just called up from AAA. He had an awful start to this season. You see the ERA at 9.5. But the Marlins wanted another lefty along with Randy Choate for this series specifically because of all the left-handed bats. Neuenhuis being one of them.
That's what teams are doing more and more of, using their AAA team to expand the roster, where they bring up just one guy for a certain series. The left-hander Dunn facing the left-handed power of the Mets.
Well, the Mets have 3 runs here, and now they have a 5-run lead. But the big question is the right wrist of R.A. Dickey.
Yeah, that's a bad trade-off, isn't it?
We told you the Mets, one of the top teams in baseball at scoring with 2 outs. 4 of their 6 runs have come with 2 outs in this ball game.
No, and Florida, Miami. The old remember the Florida Marlins trick.
That's all right. It's $1. That's all you have to pay.
$1's fine. Miami thinking they're out of the inning. I mean, they get the infield back, and then Infante makes a great play throwing home to get Duda. There are 2 outs, and then the check swing by Nikias. First base umpire Todd Titchener said he did not go around, and Nolasco failed to take advantage of that. He hits Nikias, hits R.A. Dickey, and then the base hit by Torres.
Nolasco had walked just 9 hitters in his 6 previous starts. He walks 3 in this one. He hadn't hit anyone all year, and he hits 2 in this inning.
Go figure.
Neuenhuis has worked the count full at 3-2. Dickey is at second. Great speed with Torres at first. And Dunn's 3-2. Fastball that's fouled back. Neuenhuis, who has not only played all over the outfield, center, and made some terrific catches there while Torres was injured. Played left.
3 that Terry Collins could think of.
Played left, played center. He's also hit all over the lineup card. Dunn got him, and the inning is over. But a big inning for the Mets. We'll see about R.A. Dickey's right wrist when we return. Proud to support youth baseball in cities and towns across the country. Marlins Park with the roof closed on a warm and humid day in Miami. The Mets have a 6-1 lead, but they have a big question mark out on the mound. R.A. Dickey hit by a pitch, would look like the right wrist area. He looked fine in warm-ups, though it's hard to tell with a knuckleballer.
It is, because a lot of knuckleballers push the ball to home plate. They throw the knuckleball with the stiff wrist. We'll see. And he went to his fastball. Here's that pitch inside, kind of ball hitting him on the right wrist, and we talked about it between innings, thinking that maybe Dickey will come out throwing more fastballs and not the knuckleball. Maybe his arm's hurting him enough. There was a knuckler.
Mike Dunn with a chopper. Dickey picks it up, and Dunn is out. And a close play at first base.
That is the third good play that Dickey has made tonight defensively. When a pitcher lets go of the ball, he becomes one of the fielders. He had to play at third base, alertly covering with nobody covering earlier in the game. And now coming off the mound to make that play. And keep in mind, he threw behind the runner at second base last inning. So R.A. Dickey, the third good play that he's had this afternoon. Looked like Dunn might have been safe, however.
Bang, bang play at first. And here is Reyes.
He was flying down the line.
Well done, a former outfielder turned pitcher.
Yeah.
A very good athlete. Reyes fouls it off. It's 0-2, and Ozzie Guillen, with the state of his bullpen, allowing Dunn to hit. He wants Dunn to at least give him another inning. So he is forced to have him lead off. He wouldn't have to do that in the American League. Reyes with his second hit against his old ball club. He did not have a great series in New York. He had a hit last night, scored a couple of runs, and he's 2 for 3 in this ball game. The Marlins have a long way to go. The Mets have a 6-1 lead halfway through. And here is Infante. How do you judge whether a knuckleballer is either out of gas or is hurting? I mean, it's not velocity. You can't look at that.
If you use the fact that he's not throwing his knuckleball, I think that's the best way to determine that. When a guy's gotten to a 6-1 lead in the bottom of the 5th inning with his knuckleball, when he stops throwing it. Of course, he used the fastball for Mike Dunn, and that's understandable. You don't want to fall behind the pitcher.
That's one of the things that separates Dickey from a lot of the knuckleballers is he was a conventional pitcher who pitched in the big leagues, a guy who had great success in college, and he didn't throw the knuckleball in college. That looked like a slow, either a batting practice fastball or a slow breaking ball that didn't break much.
And also Dickey entered this game worried a bit. It was in the recesses of the mind about his catcher. He lost Josh Tolan.
Infante, Cedeno starts it. Murphy turns it. And the Mets and R.A. Dickey are clicking in Miami today.
No need to worry through 5.
By Prudential. Prudential, bring your challenges. And by Pepsi Max, 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste. Roof closed on Marlins Park, and the Mets with a 6-1 lead. It was David Wright early and wild Ricky Nolasco in the 5th. And that's how the Mets have built this lead. Wright is 2 for 3, a solo homer, an RBI single, and Mike Dunn misses down low. One of the most impressive things about Wright's numbers is on base percentage, because guys are starting to pitch around him because of swings like this.
Yeah, even when he was hitting poorly, or the years where he didn't have on years, his on-base percentage was respectable. I think pitchers in the National League were pitching to him like the old David Wright, instead of catching up to his futility during that 2 or 3 year period, 2.5 year period.
Well, in his early years, he had a little more protection around him in the lineup.
That's right. Well, he's back to his early years right now, the way he's swinging the bat.
First in the National League in batting average, first in the major leagues in on-base percentage. He has hit in 6 straight, 4 hits, actually 5 hits, 6 hits in this series. This season, Fox Sports is proud to support Boys and Girls Club of America, a place where youth can reach their full potential as productive, caring, responsible citizens. To learn more, please visit greatfutures.org/Fox Sports. Rich Waltz along with Tim McCarver here in Miami, and I think we've seen a great example of how the Mets, with a payroll that's dramatically down from last year, a roster that's filled with youth, have been one of the hottest teams in the National League this past week and are at 18-14 right now.
Reminiscent of the New York Mets that strutted around the National League in the 1980s. I mean, a lot of people talk about the history of this ball club, that 1986 team, the 1988 team that should have won but didn't, lost to the Dodgers. Dodgers had Oral Hershiser as the hottest pitcher in the game, MVP of the playoff in '88, and then beating Oakland in 5 games, and Oral the MVP there. But the Mets were the kings of New York in those days, believe me.
And the nickname started in the late 60s but carried over to those teams, the Amazing Mets. What word would you use to describe this year's Mets?
Equally amazing. I'd have to use 2 words.
I don't know if they can fit that on a banner, though.
Or you don't know how long this is going to happen. But Terry Collins trying to take the win-win situations they put themselves in, having won 5 in a row, sweeping the Phillies, winning last night, and a lot of good things happening to, as we said earlier, a manager/teacher. He is all of that, and a good one. From Midland, Michigan.
A strike. And Collins said it's great to be the underdog, and his team has flourished in that role. But he said sooner or later, you have to shed the underdog role and convince your team that you're not an underdog. You belong in the upper division. 3-2. That's hit hard in the gap at right center. Bonifacio races over to cut it off. Wright is on his way to third. And Lucas Duda has his 2nd hit of the ball game. And the Mets, no matter if it's Ricky Nolasco or Mike Dunn, continue to swing the bats.
Yeah, Duda very quick inside on that fastball. They're trying to go in there. Good hitting by Lucas Duda. I remember a conference call we had in late March, early April, before our first game in Detroit. And the question was, what about the New York Mets? And everybody on the, Eric Karros and I were both on the conference call, and we said, nah, I mean, you know, the Mets, I mean, it's dreaming to think that these guys would have a good year. and they have had it's not dreaming. I mean, the reality is, over the first 6 weeks of the season, they've been one of the best teams in the National League.
Well, they set a record for shedding payroll from $142 million down to $94 million. And Terry Collins, who probably overachieved with his ball club last year in getting to 77 wins, right now has him playing well. And they're doing it against what some consider the best division in baseball. They are 13-6 against the other teams in the National League East. Murphy up there, nobody out at the corners. Done a slow breaking ball. That's the pitch that when he was sent down, the Marlins asked him to add. He was a fastball slider guy. They wanted a little more change of speed. Randy St. Clair, pitching coach for the Marlins. Lined into left field. Murphy has another hit, his second. The Mets have another run. Wright crosses. It is 7-1.
And the Met hits continue to keep on coming. Well, you know, you can't help but think of the Mets in the 80s. Darryl Strawberry, and I was announcing for that team then, and I kept saying that Darryl Strawberry is going to hit the longest home run in the history of the game. And nobody knows whether that one that he just hit off Randy St. Clair, who's now the pitching coach for the Miami Marlins, was the longest hit ever hit, because the ball hit the roof at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and nobody knows how far it would have traveled. There is an estimate that it traveled from 520 to 560 feet, but we know how wrong those estimates are. You can see the dismay with the right fielder. He turned around to look, thinking that ball's hit a long way, and the ball hit the ceiling at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. But in my mind, that's the longest ball that's ever been hit in the history of the game. And I'll take that to my grave, which I hope is a ways away.
Of course, there was a little discrepancy with the metric conversion on that, but I'll take your estimate.
That's right. It was a metric conversion.
But
in Montreal.
Montreal's roof was supposed to be retractable, but of course it got stuck. And it became a permanent roof.
Right, it did.
Ike Davis is up. And it was not a roof that was supposed to roll off. It was actually supposed to be plucked off and swung away from what is known as the Big O.
Kevlar, I guess, was the stuff that was used on the roof at Montreal's Olympic Stadium, and it was a disaster from the start. The first year, 1976, they had the Olympics there, and Montrealers thought it was a showcase of the world, and it turned into be anything but that.
And it lived up to its nickname, the Big O.
O-H.
That's right. But it was the I guess one of the, you talked about least appreciated in Ricky Nolasco's case, starters. Those Montreal Expo teams were some of the least appreciated in baseball. Those were some terrific teams.
Great teams.
That never quite could get over the hump. You know,
Andre Dawson, the Rookie of the Year in 1977, and Gary Carter, who was an MVP one year, and then, of course, traded to the Mets in a 4-for-1 trade.
Well, just a sea of players came out of there. From
great players, a great farm system.
They acquired Pedro Martinez, who had a great start there.
Yeah.
Tim Wallach. The Expos, of course, had that great year in '94, but that's when the strike happened. And Davis swings and misses. And Dunn has his first out of the sixth inning. The Expos had the best record going. The strike hit, and many say that doomed baseball in Montreal from that point forward. Ozzie Guillen out with his lineup card. This would be a double switch coming in a 7-1 Met lead in the 6th in Miami. To the president with the Marlins, he is a Miami guy, born and raised, and of course part of those great Expos teams. Tony Perez, another Hall of Famer, also helps out with the Marlins. There's a lot of Hall of Famers in the house, including the man to my right. And from everyone at Fox, congratulations, Tim, on the call to Cooperstown.
Rich. Thank you very much. It's exciting.
Have you even started to think or write the speech, which is such a big thing when you're inducted?
I've started to think about it, but I haven't put much on paper yet.
Well, Dave Van Horn, the radio voice.
Yeah, Dave came over before the game. What a great guy. And speaking of Montreal, he was a fixture in Montreal for 20 years.
Well, a well-deserved honor.
Thank you very much.
In a career that has spanned many, many years as a player and as a broadcaster. Donnie Murphy comes in the double switch. Chad Gaudin, a right-hander who has bounced around a bit, had some success with the Oakland Athletics, takes over in a 7-1 Mets lead. Gaudin misses down low.
Ozzie Guillen, his first year in the National League as a manager. He was a coach here for the Marlins back in the early 2000s, but expressing one of the tougher things, the double switch that has to be made in the National League that's non-existent in the American League.
One of the things that helped Guillen is at the end of his career, he played 2 seasons for Bobby Cox in Atlanta.
Bobby Cox loved Ozzie Guillen, loved him, still does, I imagine. Haven't seen Bobby in a couple of years because he's not there anymore. He's retired, enjoying life.
I think you can still see his fingerprints, though.
Oh yeah,
on that Atlanta organization.
Yeah. That's right.
And that's a team that not a lot of people talk about in the East right now because of the Phillies' awful start, the Nationals' hot start. The Braves kind of fell on their faces out of the gates, but have charged up the ladder and start play just a half game back of the Nationals. Roller towards Murphy, who just came in. A flip to Reyes, and he'll hold on to it for the second out. NASCAR on Fox goes under the lights tonight. Here's Chris Myers with a preview.
Hey, Chris Myers here, and tonight in South Carolina, NASCAR on Fox from Darlington, one of the most challenging tracks on the circuit, the 11th race of the year, and Danica Patrick will be joining some guys looking for their first win of the year, like Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. We hope you join us, 6:30 Eastern on the pre-race show.
We will do that as soon as we get Tim McCarver out of the Clevelander in left field. Mike Nikias.
That's a tough task there.
Chad Godin misses outside. This is a game that has gotten away from Miami, and it's a game where the Mets have used their blueprint this year. They've scored a ton of 2-out runs this year. 4 of their 7 runs, 2-out runs. The Clevelander is the nightclub / hotspot in left field at Marlins Park. Swimming pool, a bar, restaurant, and a lot of fun, from what I'm told. Chad Godin over to first. Mets add another run and lead it 7-1. Start for Josh Hamilton and the Rangers.
What a season for Josh Hamilton.
I mean, already what a season.
Yeah. I mean, the impressive thing, that home run, the 4 home run game, 4 home runs and a double. One of the great performances offensively ever. He had 3 home runs to center and 1 to left.
There are fewer games in which players have hit 4 home runs than there are perfect games that have been pitched.
16 4 home run games.
Any of those 16 4 home run games, were you in attendance or played in?
No. No.
I had the good fortune of being in Chicago with the Seattle Mariners broadcast team when Mike Cameron hit 4 home runs against the White Sox. High pop. Ike Davis. And what was amazing about Hamilton the other night is just the ease of the swings that he took.
Center field, 2-run homer. Center field, 2-run homer in Baltimore. Center field, 2-run homer. And left field, 2-run homer. 8 RBIs, 4 home runs, and a double. Mercy.
An American League record 18 total bases that night.
I was in uniform of the Red Sox when Fred Lynn hit 3 home runs and a double in Tiger Stadium as a member in his rookie year in 1975. And he missed the 4th home run by about 6 inches.
Logan Morrison pops it foul. And that's to finish the Cameron story. His last at bat of the night, he hit a ball to the top of the wall in center field that would have been his 5th. It was caught.
Oh, man. The wind shifted on him at Wrigley?
No, it was at Comiskey against the White Sox.
Yeah, that's right. My gosh.
Here's the 0-2 from R.A. Dickey. Well, all the doubts and drama about R.A. Dickey's wrists,
they're gone.
Yeah. He came out after getting hit by a pitch by Ricky Nolasco. Got a double play ball to finish the 5th.
Yeah, the key's going to be tomorrow because the adrenaline's carrying him through what he's gone through since being hit. And the real pain will come tomorrow, and the rehab part of it for 3 or 4 days. The way he's pitching, though, I don't think you're going to get him out of the rotation.
Stats legend Marty Aronoff points out just 1 3-ball count for Dickey in this game.
That's remarkable for a knuckleballer.
The 2-2. Morrison fouls it back.
See what happens when you climb Kilimanjaro? We haven't talked about that today.
I mean, there's so many things to talk about with R.A. Dickey.
It is. That's true.
And he's been splendid on the mound. He's helped himself with 3 terrific defensive plays. And he's got his ball club on top 7-1. But he was an All-American at Tennessee and an academic All-American, an English literature major, and it was Ernest Hemingway, whose house is south of here about 2 hours in Key West.
And it was Ernest Hemingway who wrote one of the more memorable short stories, The Snows of Kilimanjaro.
And that inspired Dickey to try to climb the mountain, and he did.
With Dave Racaniello, the bullpen catcher of the Mets, and Kevin Slowey, who is now, I think he's still with the Cleveland Indians, right?
And he has picked up where he left off the last time he's faced the Fish. Tim, R.A. Dickey against the Marlins. Look at the last 4 starts. Look at the ERA. One of 2 pitchers with 4 wins and an ERA of under 1 against any opponent over the last 2 seasons. Ryan Vogelsong against Colorado is the other. Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton to right center field. That ball's deep. Duda won't get there. It bangs off the wall. May have been touched by a fan. Around third comes Morrison, and he will score. First base umpire Todd Titchener was out on the grass, put his hands out saying no interference. And so Morrison scores on the double by Giancarlo Stanton.
It just gives you an idea of the mammoth strength of Stanton. I mean, he just flicked that ball out to right center field. Did the fan touch it? It's close. But it hit the top of the fence, stayed in play, and the Marlins have another run. A long way to go, however.
Miami came back last night from a 5-3 deficit, and the Marlins actually have 10 come from behind wins. The Mets with 11. This guy's had a terrific day at the plate. Gabby Sanchez has barreled up R.A. Dickey twice. A line drive RBI single to center in the 2nd. And a ringing line drive down the left field line for a double in the 4th. Dickey's right out in front of him 0-2. University of Miami, raised here in Miami, and has been the Marlins' everyday first baseman the last 2 seasons. A National League All-Star last year, and he hammers that ball left center. Torres is there, and he makes a running catch. In this ballpark, you need speed in center, and Torres certainly has it.
Well, for Ozzie Guillen's got to be very happy. Gabby Sanchez has hit 3 balls right on the button today. Unfortunately for the third one, flagged down by Andres Torres.
Yeah, the Mets have had a history in the last 7 to 10 years of pretty good play in center field with Carlos Beltran and even Angel Pagan for a season or two.
You know, we talked about Josh Hamilton and his home run week. He's had 9 home runs this week. 9.
Well, he's not done yet.
No, he's not through, right? Carlos Beltran had 5 home runs and 15 RBIs for the Cardinals, who've won 4 in a row.
The Cardinals sit atop the Central, a 3.5 game lead over the Reds. Here's Bonifacio, who has popped out and bounced into a fielder's choice. All right, Dickey has given up a run here in the 6th. And Bonifacio, that's out of play.
You know what's interesting when you discuss the history of the St. Louis Cardinals? They've rarely had a down year. Even in their rebuilding years, they contend, or if they're in the second division, of course, when 8 teams were in the league, then switched to 10 teams in the league, then division play, they were at the top half of the second division.
Well, there's the evidence. Most winning season since 1921.
Of course, the Yankees are in a they're unlike any other franchise. 27 world championships. Most teams don't even come close to that in pennants. But the Cardinals are a remarkable tradition in that town. Of course, world champions last year against Texas.
And there was a real question in losing Pujols. Would they take a dip this year? And even the issues with Chris Carpenter after that arose. People said, well, there's no way they can duplicate last year.
Yeah, Pujols, La Russa, and Carpenter are not with the Cardinals, and they picked up where they left off. They're a better team at this point this year than they were last year.
You're right. They had to make a major charge, as you see Manny Acosta in the bullpen, a major charge from late August to the final minutes.
10.5 back on August 25th last year.
To the final minutes of the season. Bonifacio walks, and Dickey, with his first walk of the ball game.
I question that call right there. A 3-2 knuckleball to a guy who's not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and you have a 5-run lead. You have to pitch to the score, and that's how the catchers are trained to do that. 3-2 knuckleball to a guy like Bonifacio? I don't think so.
Now Brett Hayes. Hayes has hit the ball hard twice. Flied to the warning track in deep left center, and he lined to left. Pickoff. Look at that. You want to know what kind of athlete Dickey is? Most pitchers will spin the other way. Watch this move.
Don't try this at home. You know how much torque it takes to do something like that? Throwing across all 215 pounds of RA.
And that's the best fastball he's thrown all day. 1-0 to Hayes. Bottom 6, Mets on top, 7-2. They knocked Ricky Nolasco out in the 5th inning. New York trying to even the series at a game apiece. Miami had a comeback win and a walk-off win in the bottom of the 9th last night, after Miami's bullpen blew a Mark Burley lead late in that ball game. One and two. Hayes, another line drive that finds a glove. Davis has it. Back to Miami after a word from your local Fox station and a stroll down Ocean Drive. Have a 7-2 lead going into the 7th. Marlins on their third pitcher. Dickey has done it all. With knuckleballs, with defense, he has a base hit. And he's coming out because Jordani Valdespin will pinch hit for him. And Valdespin, who had a big home run in that Philadelphia series, flies to left. Big key in this one for the Mets was that 5th inning with Ricky Nolasco on the mound.
The check swing, you may remember. The Mets got the call, and then Nikias is hit. The next batter, Dickey, hit on the right wrist, and then the base hit for Andres Torres. 3 runs were born in that inning when none should have occurred.
And that broke the game open. R.A. Dickey took it from there, has held the lead at 7-2 now. With Chad Godin taking over for Mike Dunn, and Dickey and Nikias. And don't think that the guy on the right isn't relieved that Dickey is out of the ballgame. I mean, he's happy for the efforts, but just the fact that he doesn't have to catch him now, he can go back to a regular catcher's glove, is a bit of a relief. I mean, if you're going to name a co-MVP, it's the guy on the right.
Absolutely.
Mike Nikias.
No argument here. But you think about, everybody knows that all 3 runs in the top of the 5th were earned runs. But what did the Mets do to earn them? They had 2. The only guy who earned the 2 runs was Andres Torres.
Well, Dickey would argue taking one on the wrist was earning one.
Well, I guess that's right. Okay.
Now Godin faces Kirk Neuenhuis. Cheap game summary. David Wright, as always, hitting Ricky Nolasco. 3 more hits for Wright, the leading hitter in the National League. Dickey, a nice day's work. And Nolasco, very much an un-Nolasco-like start with the 3 walks, 2 hit batters. Nieuwenhuis delivered an RBI single in the 4th. And he is 1 for 3. Torres at first. Godin working. A 1-1 count. Godin has been the long man for Miami. He had a very good spring training and has been valuable. The Marlins bullpen has been I guess a work in progress, if you ask Ozzie Guillen. And that because of the failings of their prized free agent closer, Heath Bell. As Bell has tried to work out his difficulties, Guillen has had to shuffle everyone's role in the pen, trying to get saves out of Edward Mujica, out of Steve Cishek. The 2-2. Nieuwenhuis swings and misses. But you won't get any sympathy from the Mets. I mean, the Mets, we talked about the payroll reduction. One of the first places you have to cut costs is your closer. And the Mets are closing with Frank Francisco, who last night couldn't close.
Yeah, they have 6 blown saves for that team.
Not David Wright.
The guy who's probably pitched better for the Marlins than anybody, other than maybe Nolasco until today, is Carlos Zambrano. What a resurgence, renaissance he's had. But Heath Bell blew 3 of his starts. And because of the new, more peaceful Carlos.
Yes, no Gatorade machines were injured in the filming of those 3 blown saves. After the 3rd blown save, Bell came to Zambrano in the clubhouse to apologize to him and said, "Look, I'm sorry." And Zambrano stopped him and said, "Look, don't worry. We won the game, and that's all that mattered. We're going to need you later on. Just get straightened out and don't worry about it." And that tells a lot about Zambrano's peace of mind right now.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that has to do with that man.
Yes, that's right.
When Ozzie was on the south side and Zambrano was on the north side, they were in close contact. Zambrano, of course, volatile to say the very least last year. AWOL at one point. Wright lines it foul.
Threatened to retire after that one game in Atlanta.
And you saw earlier on one of our DirecTV game breaks, Chris Volstad getting knocked around a bit. Volstad was the starter that the Marlins sent to the Cubs to get Zambrano. Of course, the Cubs are paying about 16 of the $18 million. Murphy to his left, on the run, throws the first in time. And Chad Godin gets through the 7th. 7th inning stretch in Miami with the Mets in control. you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Rich Waltz along with Tim McCarver in Miami. Marlins Park, the Mets, a 7-2 lead in the bottom of the 7th inning. On Thursday, as you see Manny Acosta stepping to the mound. Donnie Murphy in the box. Murphy. Jose Reyes. There's a breaking ball.
I know what you're thinking.
On Thursday,
what could happen on an off day?
Rob
for
Johnson
two backup catchers.
And Brett Hayes had very opposite days, didn't they?
Boy, I should say. Rob Johnson going back and forth from Austin, Texas to here in Miami. His wife giving birth to their third child, little boy, I think. I think his wife's name is Kristen. And then not so good in the life of Brett Hayes.
Well, Brett Hayes was with his wife on the Florida Turnpike on Thursday on an off day. And there was a shooting involving a couple of police officers. 2 officers were shot. And the gunman walked right by Hayes's car with his gun out.
Right.
Looked Hayes in the eye and walked by the car. Hayes told his wife, don't look at him. And that man was later shot and killed.
Boy.
Here's the 1-2. And Donnie Murphy has a brief at bat against Manny Acosta, who takes over for R.A. Dickey.
Manny Acosta has given up 18 runs from the bullpen this year. That's the most runs of any major league reliever. But he certainly looked sharp in that at bat by Donnie Murphy. Don't try to sell that to Donnie.
Reyes a couple of hits. And he's got another one into right field. And Tim, this has got to be tough for a lot of Met fans to watch Reyes in a Marlins uniform. You go back to the history of Reyes in New York. It started early when he was 16. And from there, just an incredible run with the Mets. An all-star many times over. Great speed. Won the batting title last year. All-time leader in many categories. And in the offseason, the Marlins made him an offer the Mets did not. And Reyes took the Marlins offer, 6 years, $106 million.
Yeah, the financial woes that the Mets have gone through, certainly no way that they were going to be in the bidding for one of the best players in their franchise history. Certainly one of the best offensive players.
Austin Kearns at the plate. There's Reyes in a Miami uniform. Kearns last night got to the ballpark, got halfway through batting practice, thinking he wasn't in the starting lineup. The 0-1 pitch. Logan Morrison, the left fielder, had a little bit of an ache in a knee that he had surgery on 4 months ago. And so Ozzie Guillen said, well, I'm going to give you the night off. He puts Kearns in, and what does Kearns do? He hits a 2-run homer against Johan Santana in the first inning. Kearns a ground ball right, long throw, heck of a play. David Wright.
Hard to believe where he ended up on that play. Over near the green siding, the light green siding, lime green of the stands. What a play by David Wright. He's done it offensively, and now he does it defensively too.
You talked about last year he had injury issues. The last couple of seasons his defense slipped from his Gold Glove years. And this spring that man Tim Tuffle and Wright worked an awful lot on balance and footwork. And the improvement has been dramatic this year. Tuffle in his first season as a Mets third base coach, but certainly a guy with a nice history in New York. I guess to your point, it begs the question, if the Mets financial situation did not allow them to make an offer to Reyes, what happens in 2 years when David Wright comes up?
They won't sign him.
Really?
No. Unless their financial situation improves, and that's unlikely unless this team continues to play the way they've been playing. I mean, they can win. I'm not saying take the city back away from the Yankees, but as we talked about earlier, in the 80s and the early 90s, the Mets owned New York City. In the way the Yankees' success of their recent years under Joe Torre and Joe Girardi, tutelage of Brian Cashman, they've taken it back in a big way from the Mets. But if you win, you know, New York, because they had two National League teams, the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants, were historically a National League city. I know the Yankees have had remarkable success in that town, but it's not always has it been a Yankees town.
2-1 pitch. That's driven. Deep left field. Off the wall. Reyes will score. Hanley Ramirez has a double, and Miami is a run closer, but down 7-3. First hit for the Marlins third baseman.
Well, a couple of things. That play by David Wright looks a little bigger right now. And that high fastball from Manny Acosta. Reyes is going to score easily from second base, but that ball's a home run in most stadiums.
Terry Collins on his way out to the mound. And he's going to lift Manny Acosta. Mets on top. Marlins trying to climb back in it in Miami in the 7th. Dickey, it's a good day, but it wasn't easy catching R.A. Dickey.
He's got a new glove now, but with the knuckleball glove earlier, catching one tough dude to catch. In the heel. Don't know whether you have it or not. Take a deep breath and go get him. Take one off the lower abdomen. Have to talk to his starting pitcher. And they add insult to injury, being hit by a pitch that led to 3 runs.
But he also has a base hit, and he's got his ball club up 7-3. He handled R.A. Dickey for the first time this year in the regular season. Now Tim Burdack comes in, and Burdack faces Logan Morrison, who is 2 for 3 and has scored a couple of runs.
I can't tell you how difficult it is to have the day, the type day that Nikias has had behind the plate.
Well, I think it's significant that in that shot in the dugout, you saw Niese, Dickey, and Bob Guerin, who is the bench coach and a guy who's a very good catching instructor.
And an ex-manager of the Oakland Athletics. It's a much shorter day, I'm sure it seems, because the Mets are on top. If that had been in a losing effort, or if the Marlins come back and win this game, then it will really be a long day for Mike Nikias, but not now.
Well, Ozzie Guillen saw his ball club lose the lead last night and then come back to win it in the bottom of the ninth. The Mets had the big comeback and then couldn't close it. Morrison takes inside, and it's 3-1. Burdack last night came in to face Morrison in a tight spot and struck him out. There's a foul ball. Pepsi Max is giving you the chance to play ball with some of baseball's greats. Go online to MLB.com/Pepsi Max and vote for your favorite legends and learn how to turn your field of dreams into a reality. Remember, if you build it, they will come.
They built it here in Miami, and they have come.
Marlins last night drawing 31,000. Another big crowd here on a Saturday afternoon. Marlins Park roof closed. AC is on. Morrison is called out on strikes. Doesn't like the call from Tony Randazzo. And they go nose to nose. Mets a 7-3 lead. And Ozzie Guillen has had to really shuffle the deck with a double switch. Austin Kearns going to stay in the game, and Kearns is in left field. Ryan Webb comes in, and he's on the mound. Webb, big right-hander that came over from the Padres last year to the Marlins. And he'll get Lucas Duda, Daniel Murphy, and Ike Davis. And the Mets have been impressive in this one. Duda has 2 hits. Murphy has a pair of hits. Of course, David Wright has had a big day. 3 hits, a homer, and 2 RBI.
And that defensive play he made saved a run, at least one.
And that's what Terry Collins meant this morning when he told us that David Wright has led a very young team by example on the field, how he conducts himself in the clubhouse. But as Collins said, when your best player comes out and is the hardest worker, plays the game the right way, and has the type of success that Wright is having this year, then all the young players see that and follow behind.
It's often talked about which sport has the best athletes. I think basketball, in my view, has the best athletes. But when you think about how difficult the game of baseball is to play, playing well on both sides of the ball, you have flexibility, range, adaptability defensively. The play that Wright made, ending up way in foul territory, good throw to first, strength, the home run to right field, hand-eye coordination. It's a tough game to play. We lose sight of that because these guys make it look so easy sometimes. I know they make it look difficult. But David Wright's today is an example of how difficult the game is to play, and some of the great athletes playing this game that are sometimes overlooked.
2-2.
Inside.
You could hear home plate umpire Tony Randazzo say inside. Randazzo mic'd up for us this afternoon. Webb ready with the 3-2. Line to left. Kearns just in. Can't get it. It goes to the wall. And Lucas Duda has his 3rd consecutive hit. Let's listen in on the day that Tony Randazzo has had behind home plate.
Oh. That's okay. No, hey, there's nothing you can do. Hey, it's interference! It's interference! It's humid in here, isn't it? Unbelievable. Yeah. I just wanted to say hi to you.
Outstanding job, by the way.
Outstanding. You're out there standing.
Sounds of the game, Tony Randazzo.
Even a chance to laugh.
Well, we had to mix in the levity after the first clip in which he got caught with a ball in the dirt. Murphy has a couple of hits, has driven in a run. He's 2 for 3. Murphy, a terrific career at Jacksonville. Englewood High School, same high school as Brett Myers, now the closer for the Astros. And a guy that, as we pointed out, he's hit everywhere he's been up the ladder.
He can hit, no question about that.
He certainly did that in college as well. Lucas Duda, a leadoff double here in the 8th. Ryan Webb trying to keep it close. Slicing liner by Reyes. Kearns picks it up. Another hit for Murphy. And the Mets have had a big day offensively up and down the lineup.
Sometimes the definition of a good hitter is how tough is he to defend against. And Daniel Murphy is the type of hitter that you don't know where to play him. He pulls the ball with power and authority. He hits the ball to left field with authority. He won't swing at balls.
And by all accounts from the Mets, he is starting to settle down at second base.
He's playing the position very well. He's had a great week of baseball.
He's very similar to the Atlanta Braves' Dan Uggla.
Yeah.
In that people remember Ugla's all-star meltdown, but he's a capable second baseman. He's not a gold glover, but he can play the position. And Murphy is getting closer to that. Here's Ike Davis. Fouls it back to the screen.
We talked about it earlier. You reach a point in your career where you're easy on yourself. You don't treat yourself harshly when you mess up in your inferior portrait. Like if you're a hitter that's playing second base and you make a couple of errors, that's part of the game, and you learn to forgive yourself.
That's a fair ball. Got the out at first, and a great play by Sanchez. Hayes running Duda back. Now, did he get the out at first? Sanchez made a throw to the plate. He was around the bag, but apparently he didn't tag the bag.
No, I think you're right. He was around the bag. I think he goes around it.
Boy,
it looked to me like his left foot may have hit the toughest part of the bag for first base umpire Todd Tichenor to call right there. When that left foot comes down, Tichenor is busy saying that's a fair ball. The guy who hit it, Ike Davis, is trying to avoid the throw, but he did not touch the bag. Good call by Tichenor. And Ike Davis is happy that he didn't get hit by the throw from Gabby Sanchez, but only one out. Now, it was the most important runner to get out.
Murphy got a huge jump at second base, and he's going to steal third. Daniel Murphy was unchecked by Ryan Webb and was literally starting to slide when the ball was arriving at the plate. Look at that. So it's first and third, one out, 7-3 Mets, with Ronnie Cedeno up. It's 5 weeks into the season, and the Mets are certainly one of the surprises in baseball. The Washington Nationals as well. Everyone knew the Nationals were going to be good, but the Nationals seem to have matured and have taken off and are at 20-12. Well, the Mets aren't far behind. The Mets 2 games behind the Nationals. The Braves a half game behind the Nationals. And as you noted, the question for the Mets is how long can they keep it up? As Terry Collins told us, they can keep it up as long as all 25 men keep contributing, because that's how they've been able to get here.
We were talking about it last week from a national standpoint. Bryce Harper has made more than a splash onto the scene. I mean, a dramatic 3 weeks. But we said it last week, somebody's got to slow him down. Davey Johnson.
Chopper, Murphy charging, goes to first to get the out. The return throw is not in time. The Mets are going to get a run out of this, and it's 8-3.
I mean, we saw bad base running by the Marlins early in the game by Giancarlo Stanton, and we've seen excellent base running by the Met. David Murphy steals third base, and now holding up is Ike Davis, holds up in time not only for the double play not to be completed, but to be safe at second base.
You talked about slowing Bryce Harper down.
Somebody's got to.
Last night, in frustration, slammed his bat in the dugout, and it bounced back and cut him in the face. Now, frustration like that, that's happened to even the best of players. That's even happened to you as a young player.
It happened to me in 1962 when an 8-year-old child was near the Atlanta Crackers dugout. And I went over and I slammed the bat down. It broke, cracked in two, came about 6 inches from hitting the 8-year-old boy who was behind the dugout. And I told myself, I'll never slam a bat down again. And with few exceptions, I did. With few exceptions. There were a few, however.
3 years ago, it took Troy Tulowitzki out of the Rockies lineup for a good 3 weeks when he did the same thing and cut his hand.
No.
Well, now that we're on the national subject, Cole Hamels, 5 games, Jim Leland thinks not enough. A lot of people in baseball have chimed in feeling he deserves more than 5 games for throwing at Harper and then saying, I was throwing at him on purpose.
Yeah, obviously, I think Cole, the one thing he's learned is not to throw at hitters, but never admit it like he did. I mean, I was very surprised that, I mean, it wasn't in retaliation to anything. I mean, he just admitted that he hit him. And, you know, that's half the suspension that Juan Marichal got when he hit John Roseborough in the head and laid his head open in 1965. So I think the suspension was proper.
Mike Niese is up. Another run for the Mets, an 8-3 lead in the 8th. Ryan Webb got him on the 1-2. Webb slipped on the delivery. South Beach in Miami, and the Mets are enjoying their stay today. Roof closed. The Marlins' first couple of homestands, the roof open. But you heard Tony Randazzo when he was all mic'd up talk about how humid it is here. Well, that's because it's humid in Miami. They have to leave the roof open to let the sun hit the grass and make the grass grow. And so, just like in Arizona and Houston, about 3 hours before game time, roof shuts, AC clicks on, and you're still going to have humidity. But it is a lot more pleasant than sitting in a giant football stadium, sweating through your clothes, and then getting drenched by rain, which was an everyday occurrence at old Sun Life Stadium.
And if it seems like we're talking a lot about the stadium, you're right, we are. And we're going to continue to talk about it. To me, I think baseball, building this stadium, and Jeffrey Loria knew it when he built it. He was going against convention. I mean, baseball is a staid, you know, in many people's mind, a staid sport. And to get away from it in a whimsical fashion, as we said earlier, I think is just delightful. I mean, when you enter the main entrance here at the ballpark, there is a I guess it's a mosaic of Joan Miró, the famous Spanish painter. And I think because Jeffrey Loria has such an affinity for art that he put it in the ballpark. We talked about red brooms in left center field.
Giancarlo Stanton in left center field. Almost got to red brooms land out there.
Yeah, it's going to take somebody even stronger than Stanton, I think.
All right, hold on to your seat. After some of the most thrilling semifinal matches in history, Fox Sports is proud to bring you exclusive live coverage of the UEFA Champions League final. Bayern Munich becomes the first team since 1984 to play the final in their home stadium. And they'll take on Drogba and Chelsea, with both teams looking to complete their improbable runs to the title. The UEFA Champions League final is live next Saturday, 2 Eastern, 11 Pacific. And I'll bet you Mike Nikias will be watching. His father played for Liverpool.
That's right. That's right. I hope his father can appreciate the job his son has done today.
That one was tougher than the weed killer. Breaking ball and a strike to Gabby Sanchez. Gabby 2 for 3, RBI single and a double as Bobby Parnell takes over. R.A. Dickey went the first 6, and the Mets have paraded relievers since, with Manny Acosta, Tim Burdack, and now Parnell. Well, you said this ballpark is unconventional. There is nothing conventional about Miami.
No.
Truly a unique city.
Yeah, and that's what the ballpark, that's what Jeffrey Loria tried to do when he built this park. We talked about him making sketches architecturally about 6 years ago in a London hotel room with his ideas for the architecture to build this. He's captured the area as much as he has his team.
Ike Davis capturing that ground ball and a flip to Parnell. And the Mets just getting outs. He's the owner of the Miami Marlins. It's a brand spanking new ballpark, new uniforms, new name.
New name, Miami, not Florida.
And a lot of new faces and players. New payroll. The Marlins payroll is up around $100 million, an all-time high, with the addition of Jose Reyes, Mark Burley, and Heath Bell. Emilio Bonifacio now, as Parnell has a couple of outs in the 8th inning. Miami winners last night in come-from-behind fashion. The Mets had won 5 in a row coming into last night's ball game. The Marlins had won 8 of 9, and by winning it, they have won 9 of 10. So both of these teams in the middle of the National League East on a nice roll right now, which is truly going to be a fascinating race with the extra wild card, with the Nationals maturing maybe a little ahead of schedule, with the Braves trying to rebound after that epic collapse last year. Davis. Parnell is over, and that's a 1-2-3, bottom of the 8th. To the 9th in Miami with the Mets in control, 8-3. as the Mets trying to even this series, and it looks like they're going to do it. New York and Miami will meet tomorrow as well. The Mets swept the Marlins in New York, and now they see Steve Cishek, who has been outstanding out of the bullpen. You could see his numbers, a 4-0 record and a 1.17 ERA. It was Cishek who twice bailed Ozzie Guillen and the Marlins out on the record-setting road trip where they won 8 of the 9 games. They blew 4 leads and yet still went 8-1 on that trip. And Cishek a couple of times came in, and now he'll face Mike Baxter, who delivered a big pinch hit last night and has really taken to this pinch hitting thing this year. Cishek as well has been called upon to try to close ball games. That one missed down low, and the right-hander, a native of Massachusetts, who has a little funk in his delivery. Baxter now 6 of 15 as a pinch hitter. He's been a nice weapon with 5 RBIs.
That type of delivery, you would think that Cishek would have a tough time with left-handed hitters, because left-handers can follow that pitch from down under a lot better than right-handers. A guy that delivers the ball like Cishek is going to get right-handers to give a little bit. Left-handers don't give when right-handers throw from down there. They see the ball very well.
It's a great illustration of how a guy like Cishek, when he delivers the pitch, is 3 feet out in front of the rubber. That back foot leaves the pitching rubber, especially with his delivery, well before he releases the ball. That one down the left field line, and that is a foul ball. Kearns picks it up, and Baxter will head back to the plate. He almost had his 7th pinch hit of this very young season.
And he almost drew some chalk down that left field line. It was very close. Ooh, an inch. Maybe it's a fair ball. Maybe. It was very, very close, however.
Baxter drives this one to center. Bonifacio goes back, and he's got another pinch hit. 7th of the season. He's thinking he'll stay at second. He thought about 3 and then put the brakes on. Mike Baxter.
We talked about it earlier that when you drive a ball over the center fielder's head in this ballpark, you've done something. Particularly a guy who can run like Bonifacio.
Particularly a guy from Queens playing for the Mets.
Yeah, baby.
MVP at Vanderbilt.
Went to Columbia in his first year, then quit Columbia and went to Vanderbilt. 2 pretty good schools.
It's not a big drop off there.
No, it's not.
It's a lateral move.
You got to be a smart folks go there.
Brett Hayes is out to talk to Cishek. Well, if you haven't followed the Mets much this year, this is a great snapshot of how they've been winning games.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's everybody from the top of the lineup to the bottom of the lineup. And you've got R.A. Dickey, who's on the verge of winning his 5th game. How does all-star R.A. Dickey sound? Wouldn't that be something?
Sounds pretty good to Mets fans right now.
Dickey could be 5-1.
Who again is going to be 38 years old on October 29th of this year.
But the shelf life on knuckleballers is a little more extended than garden variety pitchers, isn't it?
Not quite what a Jamie Moyer-like would be, but Hoyt Wilhelm was, I believe, 48 when he retired.
And the Negroes pitched into their 40s.
Sure.
Wakefield into his 40s.
Right. Tim just retired last year and is probably watching this game today from Melbourne, Florida, enjoying retirement. Kind of.
Well, and probably
it's tough the first year.
Very proud of a fellow knuckleballer.
Oh, sure.
It's a very tight-knit community. And, you know, the funny thing is, a guy like Wakefield, Charlie Huff was the first guy that Dickey turned to. There are guys in the minor leagues right now that are turning to R.A. Dickey and asking him how to throw a knuckleball, because, I mean, there's thousands of guys that think they can throw a knuckleball and come back and have a new baseball life as a knuckleball pitcher. If R.A. Dickey can do it, if Wakefield was able to do it, many people feel they can do it, but not many can. Cishek with a full count on Andres Torres. Sanchez will take it. That's the first out of the ninth.
Remember before the game, or right in the top of the first inning, we talked about the scouting report of R.A. Dickey. The catcher was a key and one of the harder knuckleballs, and he certainly showed that, and he gets better with age. And the guy who may have aged more than anybody in this game is Niese today.
Yeah, but he handled himself well.
Oh, absolutely. He should get dog years credit, I think, today.
For service time?
Yes.
Like an extra 30 days of service time. Of
course. Why not?
Well, the great shot of the day wasn't of him stabbing a ball in the heel or the webbing or taking one off the chest protector. It was of Niese after making a catch and returning it to the pitcher, just exhaling.
Taking the exhale. Oh, that was wonderful.
Neuenhuis. And he takes outside. You know, one of the things about this Met ball club, if the Mets had a payroll of $150 million, Neuenhuis wouldn't be playing. Duda might not be here. A lot of these guys that were not first-round picks, they might not be here. Here's that exhale.
Take a deep breath, Mike.
And it's not by design, it's by necessity that the Mets are having to turn to these guys to play.
Right.
And a lot of these guys are taking advantage of that. I mean, Daniel Murphy is proving he can hit in the big leagues. Neuenhuis is showing he can play all over the outfield and play hard.
It's funny, the guy offensively that's going the worst is the guy that you would think would be going the best, and that's Ike Davis.
Which, in terms of draft status, is the top prospect for the Mets.
Right.
Neuenhuis, wow. That one went right into the towel there.
And
the
here
Mets dugout.
Excuse me, Rich, but the Mets have scored 7 runs. Make that 8 runs today. They've scored in all but 2 innings, and Ike Davis is 0 for 5. If they can get Ike Davis going, then they're going to be even tougher.
Well, last year at this point, the Mets were 14 and 18. They finished at 77 and 85. Two-two pitch. That's hooked to right. Stanton going back and makes the catch. Now, Cishek, we told you, has had to close games. Edward Mujica has had to close games. But the Marlins aren't alone in issues at the back of the bullpen. Look at all the closers that have been injured or have had to be removed from their duties this year.
A vanishing position in 6 weeks.
Yeah, there's no safety net. Now, Heath Bell is probably back in the Marlins role as a closer. Bell's last 2 outings, not in save situations, but in pressure spots, including last night, have been good ones. Three more hits for David Wright. And a wild pitch to the screen.
Well, if you're having problems with your bullpen or your closers, then you extend your starters. That's what the Marlins have done, and that's why they've gotten such great production out of their starting staff. With the exception, again, like the Mets and Ike Davis, the guy you would think that would be going better than any starter would be Josh Johnson, and he's not.
The 3, 4, 5 hitters for the Mets just having a field day in this one. And you saw it back in San Francisco 2009, the last time the teeth of the Mets order has enjoyed such a day. And to your point, Davis is the number 6 hitter in the order, and that's where it stops for the Mets. Wright has helped everything numbers-wise today. The leading hitter in the National League coming in, tops in all of baseball and on-base percentage. And how about a broken bat flare just to put the cherry on the top of the day for David Wright. A 4-hit game. And another run across as Baxter scores. It is 9-3. Here comes Lucas Duda. 16 hits for the Mets. And the amazing thing is they've left 12 on base. And they have 9 runs. Duda doubled his last time up. He has 3 consecutive hits. It's a big guy that went to USC. He's 26. He was a 7th round pick. Had the great second half last year. Cishek is all over the place, and that's how the day started for the Marlins. One of their best control pitchers, a guy in his career that has had outstanding control, Ricky Nolasco, was all over the place. He walked 3, he hit 2. And the Mets hung 6 runs on him in 4 2/3.
What gets kind of lost, I think, when you have an offensive day like the Mets have had, scored a lot of runs, what gets lost may be what they've done on the bases. They've run the bases very well in this ball game, and the Marlins haven't. Mike Stanton's turning around second base when the Marlins had a chance to score a lot of runs. It's surprising, but if you go back in major league games, and that's what managers do, put emphasis on.
That ball's hit to left center. Kearns is there.
Put emphasis on base running. They will look at a game like this and say one team did, the other team didn't.
Chevrolet. And you can see the Mets are hammering Miami 9-3. Rich Waltz, along with Tim McCarver, have been asked to ask you. Today is the 87th birthday for a notable baseball figure.
Willie Mays was 7 days ago, I believe. May 5th?
Yes. Yes, I saw the birthday cake he got in San Francisco. The
87th birthday. Watching in New York. It's not Ralph Kiner, because Ralph Kiner turns, I believe, 89 or 90 on October 27th.
First Major League at bat by Kevin Madison as he bounces out. All right, here's the answer.
I don't know.
To our unofficial trivia question. 87 is Yogi.
Oh, my gosh. Born on the Hill in St. Louis. Wanted to sign with the Cardinals, and he would have for $250 more. Ranch Rickey gave him $250. He wanted $500. Rickey wouldn't bend, and Yogi became a Yankee instead of a Cardinal. First sport, soccer.
So he might be watching the UEFA Champions League final.
Oh, I'll guarantee he is. He is a huge soccer and now a big supporter of the New Jersey Devils. He lives in Montclair. One of the smartest men I've ever met, he's put the world on all these years. He knows exactly what he's doing and exactly what he's saying. Don't ever buy that deal saying, oh, it's a yogiism. You don't know yogiisms.
Yogi's made a pretty good living on yogiisms.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's how smart he is. What a smart businessman he is. He and his wife, Carmen. Talk about one of the great treasures that this country's ever produced. He's one of them.
For Marlin fans, you can tune in tomorrow on Fox Sports Florida for the final game of this series. Coverage starts at 12:30 Eastern. Donnie Murphy against DJ Carrasco.
No!
This one all over, but the final two outs as the Mets are about to even the series here. Mike Nikias has had quite a day. It started with R.A. Dickey. He handled the knuckler nicely for 6 innings. Chipped in a hit. One of 16 hits that the Mets have in the ballgame. And Murphy strikes out. Time now for the Burger King smooth play of the game. And we decided to give some smooth swings for David Wright. Against Ricky Nolasco, he's always tough. Against the Marlins as well. 4 hits for Wright. A home run, a couple of RBI singles. Our Burger King smooth plays of the game. Now Reyes takes the strike. The 1-1 to Reyes. Lines it into center field. Reyes with another hit. And Reyes with a 4-hit ball game.
Of course, you have to do it when you get up there, but it's easier to hit in blowout games. And the reason for that, more pitches are predictable. Reyes looked for the fastball, got it, and hit it hard.
Carrasco now with 2 outs, and Austin Kearns at the plate. The producer of Today's game is Jeff Gowan, the director, Jim Lynch, associate director, Eric Billmeyer, associate producer, Andy Kavanaugh, Sid Drexler, who's our technical producer. Pre-game show produced by Ethan Kleinberg, directed by Mark Deaver. Mike Santini and Don Bowie, the coordinating producers of the pregame show. Simon Benazra, our technical director. The legendary Marty Aronoff on statistics or drums. In a 9-3 Mets blowout with 2 outs in the 9th inning, Austin Kearns cranks one into center field. And so Kearns, who came in a pinch hit double switch spot, R.A. Dickey is in line to pick up win number 5 and go to 5-1. He would go to 7-2 against the Marlins, and it would be his 5th straight win against the Fish. Hanley Ramirez coming up, RBI double in the 7th.
I think with both of these teams playing well, you can see that gathering confidence with both teams. The Marlins coming back last night. They know they've had problems with the bullpen, but they're going to be games that the bullpen's going to pick them up during stretches this year. The Mets realize that they're getting a lot of 2-out hits, but they're going to have to scratch and claw for once they run into some tough pitching.
You know, one of the impressive things about the Mets sweep in Philadelphia is that they had wins in starts by Roy Halladay, by Joe Blanton, and by Cliff Lee.
Cliff Lee off the DL on Wednesday night. That's right.
Mets came back twice against Cliff Lee to tie that game and then win it at the end.
I think one of the best quotes of the early years was by Joe Madden. No surprise there with Tampa Bay. He said there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying from a Mets point of view. They have mounting injuries from an already weakened roster. And yet not a word from Terry Collins. You just make it change. Get him in, get him out.
Similar quote from Charlie Manuel when people talk about the loss of Ryan Howard and Chase Utley. Manuel simply says, nobody's going to feel sorry for you in this game.
That's right. Nor should they.
2-2 to Hanley Ramirez. Reyes at second, Kearns at first.
Reason for that is nobody will do it to you or for you when it's your turn.
It'll be interesting to see if things do turn for the Phillies, if and when they get those 2 back.
It's a disturbing trend in Philadelphia. I think as disturbing in the National League as the Angels are, and shockingly disturbing in the American League.
The difference is the Angels have all their players. The Phillies are without Utley and Howard, but still have premium starters 1, 2, and 3 in that rotation. That eases the pain for Charlie Manuel, I'm sure, to put Halladay, Lee, and Hamels in the lineup 3 out of 5 days. In the air center field, Murphy's calling for it, and he's got it. And the Mets, impressively, here this afternoon in Miami, behind their leader, David Wright, with 4 hits, a homer. They beat the Marlins 9-3. For Tim McCarver, I'm Rich Waltz. Let's go to the MLB Network studios now. Post-game coverage. And Greg Amsinger, goodbye from Miami.